Welcome to this Money Monday edition of Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. I'm John Tobacco. We're coming to you continuously from the Corona Bunker Studios right here in my living room in Staten Island, New York. Lots of going on. I have been doing a lot of research, which I'm going to fill you in a little later on. You're going to like that. But on Money Monday, we like to focus in on your wallet, your purse, your pocketbook, and let you know what's going on with your money. I've been talking for a while now about how the market has been the wealthy recipient of a whole bunch of artificial cash that the government created, trillions and trillions of dollars of liquidity during the coronavirus theory here, and all that money that's come into the market has caused this growth, taking it from 20,000 to where it is today, almost 27,000. As we come into the hour right here, 26.6. If you remember last week, I said a close under the round number of 27,000 could be bad news because 26 takes us to 24 and then 22. But I had, famed economist, part of the Trump economic team during the 2015 campaign, Stephen Moore, on this show many times, okay? And going back about 4 months ago when I had him on, I asked him, I suggested an idea to him, instead of like a PPP program, if we could do a payroll tax holiday. And every company in America, 80% of the employees in America are employed by small businesses. Every small business owner in America has to make a 14% contribution, payroll taxes, of which 7% comes from the employee, 7% comes from the employer. And I asked for a payroll holiday. I asked Stephen Moore, and he said, I don't love it. I don't love giving stuff away. Lo and behold, if you saw Donald Trump yesterday on his great interview with Chris Wallace on Fox News Sunday, Trump was talking about just that. One of the things he wants to see in the next stimulus bill is a payroll tax cut or a payroll tax holiday. My idea. Stephen Moore laughed at it at first, but then he said it wasn't the worst thing he ever heard. It looks like now it's actually turning out to be in Donald Trump's future plans, and maybe very soon, and that would be tremendously stimulative to the market, because if employers don't have to make a 7% contribution for payroll tax, then they have more money in their pocket, and that may stimulate them to hire people or pay the people that are working for them loyally through the corona more money because they have an extra 7% in their pocket. And the payroll tax also extends to people who are still employed, because 7% less will come out of their paycheck. So your take-home pay will go up by, 6-7%, somewhere in there. So there's a lot of good things happening. It's not reflected in the Dow. I think the Dow is in some dangerous territory here, depending on how the news continues to manipulate the different spiking states. And if a lot of states start to close down again, that's going to have a really negative effect on the market. And as I've told you many times, the market looks forward. So if states are starting to shut down again, then it's very, very difficult to tell when they'll be profitable again. And as I've told you time and time again, the one thing the market hates most is uncertainty. So I'd be very careful here. Bitcoin is in the same place. I talk to you about it all the time. I think it's a great flight to safety asset. It's a great alt asset. It's something you should consider having in your portfolio. At 9,100, it's in a very, very tricky place. We needed to get above 9,400 to get through 10,300. But if it breaks down below 9, and it tested the 9s on Friday and over the weekend, if it gets below 8,700, it could be all the way down as low as 7,000. So keep your eye on the portfolio. My last time I entered Bitcoin was in October at 8,000, so I still feel good about it. And below that, I can tell you, I think it'll be a great buying opportunity because there's a lot of upside, but it's in a really strange range here, and there's some good support between 9 and 10,000. Above 10, it goes nuts. Below 9, it could go way back down before it decides to come back and go nuts. We're going to go nuts with ourselves right after this when Gary Goldman joins us. He's a nationally recognized host of Business, Politics, and Lifestyle, his weekly talk show on WCRN 830. We'll take a quick break, come back with more Liquid Lunch right after this. All right, welcome back. Just kicking our way through the early stages of a Money Monday edition of Liquid Lunch on Newsmax TV. On Biz TV. I'm not on Newsmax TV right now. We're on Biz. I'm John Tobacco. We're coming to you from the Corona Bunker Studios right here in Staten Island, New York. And, lots going on with the coronavirus. There was a lot of discussion back and forth over the last, 6 months, 4 months, let's call it. At first, Dr. Anthony Fauci was saying, don't wear a mask, you can wear a bandana. The Surgeon General came out and said masks aren't good. Then they said, we need more masks, everybody needs to wear masks. Now the big debate is, should the president institute some federal mask mandate? He was asked about this by Chris Wallace yesterday on Fox News, and he said, no, I want people to have a little freedom. We think we have it under control, and I've left it up to governors so governors can determine how hot their hotspots are. I tend to think we're going to be stricken with this mask life for quite some time, and my next guest agrees with me also. Gary Goldman's here. He's a nationally recognized host of Business, Politics, and Lifestyles. It's a weekly talk show on WCRN 830. Gary, thanks for joining us again. Is the masks, when you see these videos over the years in, different Asian countries, a lot of people are wearing masks, and it's one way to kind of get your citizenship uniform, wear a mask. Takes away a little of your individuality also. Is this another step in the reduction of our freedoms and liberties?
Well, I think we're seeing that to be the case, especially in many of the blue states. It's definitely the case. I personally believe, John, come November after the election, you'll see less and less talk about the masks. Problem with this is nobody's really sure about this virus and whether the mask is doing any good. Even the experts hedge, as you pointed out, Dr. Fauci, hedging back and forth. Not a big fan of the doctor. I'm not diminishing anything he's accomplished, but I'm not a big fan of his. I think he creates too much hysteria out there amongst individuals on a regular basis. But we have enough rules and regulations of things that we need to do and we have to do. I think the American people are smart enough to know when they need to wear a mask, and if they don't want to wear a mask, they shouldn't have to wear a mask. And when I say that, I mean certain situations. If the store says you need to wear a mask to walk in, I think we're gonna have to play by the rules instead of creating again hysteria or creating problems amongst individuals that are trying to enforce these within a certain district or within a retail establishment. But it's all, when I hear that here in Massachusetts they're talking about they want us to wear this mask when we're in our vehicles, when we're walking on the street. That's absolutely absurd, John, because if it is that bad, masks are really not going to do much for us if we can contract it that easily through just walking around.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at people in their car with a mask on. They're alone. Please. I'm saying to myself, what's wrong with this wacko? Like, who is he protecting himself from? Himself? If himself has the virus, then he already has it himself. I don't know what he's masking from. It's getting nutty.
And you're seeing more and more of that, driving around, people in their cars. I've gone through a drive-through where I have no contact, John, no contact with the person who is on the other end because it's being done through a tube and asking me to put my mask on. I'm like, are you absolutely kidding me? Are you absolutely kidding me? I mean, not trying to create an issue, but I refuse to put my mask on. I'm in my car. I'm talking to him via a video. He said that's the policy, that's the rule. I think it could be taken way over the edge.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I walked into a store the other night, and I have like a mask in my house, I have a mask in my car, I have a backup in my car. And I just hopped out of the car quick, and I ran in the store, and there's like two people in the store, and they look at me like, ah! And I'm like, what happened? You know what I mean? Like, I'm looking around, and then I realized, oh, I forgot to put the mask on. They got people so paranoid that you can actually scare people by not having the mask on now, it seems like.
So that's what we really have to wonder. Is that the main objective, John? The paranoia, the hysteria? Again, I think there's a lot of politics involved in the mask. I think it's especially in a lot of the blue states. And I'm not sure even some of the medical people, I think they have a grasp on it, like I said earlier, but I'm not sure they know what good that mask is really doing either.
So let me ask you this, it seems like every day, we're talking about liberals doing this, liberals doing that. I really been doing a lot of homework on this. I call it the sentence. The sentence "Black Lives Matter" is something that everyone will say, "Heck yeah, I'm 100% agreed." But the hashtag capital Black Lives Matter is really a front organization for Marxists and communists. And
Right.
one of the things in the Karl Marx's writings are that they want to destroy the pillars of our society, of our history, break up the nuclear family, no numbers on houses. Is in your view, does this seem like people are getting fooled by using a truism as a hashtag that we can't fight, and they're really just trying to destroy our capitalist country as we know it?
Well, a couple of things there. When I refer to Black Lives Matter, if we're talking about actual Black Lives Matter or all Black Lives Matter, however we want to say it, that's one thing. But then when I refer to Black Lives Matter Inc., meaning the group that's actually using the Black Lives Matter hashtag as a facade to create terror or to change society as we currently live in right now. I think there's a motivation there. The motivation is we're dealing with anarchists and Marxists, and they're using this hashtag to get around to sort of put people in a difficult position to question what they're doing. We can't stop questioning what they're doing. They want to change society. They want to change history. They can tear down all the statues they want, John. They can paint all the statues they want to deface, but it's not going to change history. And I do believe more and more American people on both sides, right, left, Democrat, Republican, Independents, are onto this and are getting a bit, even here in liberal Massachusetts, they're getting a bit tired of it. If I was to go out and spray paint a monument tonight, and I had an interview with you in the morning, I'd probably have to cancel it because I'd be arrested and have to appear in court. These groups go out, they march without any masks on. Let's start with that. They're given the permission to march through the streets of whatever city they deem necessary, and they're given the free go light to go destroy property. Enough is enough. I think the American people are tired of it.
So I've been thinking about this. I've been talking to different people. I do some grassroots activism and stuff.
Yeah.
In New York City, in the middle of a time when we supposedly have to have all these budget cuts and everything else, they are putting these speed cameras everywhere you can imagine. These new cameras that they take a picture, right? They're putting speed cameras like every other block where I live, okay? And I was thinking, well, if I wanted to do a protest and get some people together, and the city actually tells you where they are if you do enough digging, right? What if we did a protest and we were protesting speed cameras in a quarantine in school zones when schools are closed, and we spray painted the lenses of the speed cameras? Would we be treated just like the protesters, or if we tied a rope on them and ripped them down, would we be allowed to express our First Amendment?
I think in New York, you'd be hauled right into jail. The mayor in your city has made it perfectly clear who he's willing to let run around the streets again without masks and protests, and who he's not going to give any, other groups that he's not willing to bend on. So it's not equal. It's not equal justice. It's not equal play here. And I do believe that if you were to do that, you would have a serious legal issue on your hands. Look at anyone who's questioning anything Big Brother, in your case, Mayor de Blasio wants, is going to be in for a rude awakening if you go against the mayor. It's the same. Look at what's going on in cities like yours and here, even in Massachusetts and all over the country, with the letting out criminals out of jails, and they're wondering why the crime rate is up. This is a plan, John. This is a well orchestrated plan. The death of Mr. Floyd made, right time and right place to make things move forward in the manner in which they want to put this plan into action. So I think we have some serious issues on our hands. And at some point, I do believe the president is going to have to act on some of this, or people will start to question it come the fall election. Some of the violence, some of the, taking down of monuments and statues and just some of the nonsense, pure nonsense is going on, including the crime and the killings in major cities throughout this country.
No doubt
If
about it.
Black Lives Matter and lives matter, then we should be concerned. Every American should be concerned about that, John.
No doubt about it. The crime is spiking a lot worse than the coronavirus was a couple of months. Gary, thanks for taking some time to be with us today. For those of you out there watching around the country, check out Gary's show, Business, Politics, and Lifestyles on WCRN 830 up there in Massachusetts. Thanks a lot, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, John. Have a great day.
You stay right there. A lot of shocking news that I've found out that, by the way, the Biden family and the Epstein family are actually neighbors at their neighboring islands in the Caribbean. We'll talk about that more right after this. All right, welcome back. It's a Money Monday edition of Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. Gary Goldman's a great friend. He's on the show with us all the time. He knows a heck of a lot about business and politics, and he's kind of cool cat too, so he knows a little about lifestyles, and you got to check him out. He's a great guy for us on a Money Monday. We're also going to have a whole slew of money guests. Michael Dougherty's going to be here a little later on. Fernando Uribe joins us every single Monday. Now, I have been exposing myself to a significant amount of work and research, which I don't usually do. I usually do very little. Frank, Nico, Jess, they do all the work, and then I kind of just slip in right here at the last minute and read from notes and make believe I did all the work. I have been reading, researching, fact-checking, double-checking, going down rabbit holes on all of this crazy Pizzagate stuff, and I'll encourage you again to watch this movie Out of Shadows. It's an hour and 15 minutes. It's a couple of real Hollywood insiders and an FBI agent, a former CIA agent, and one of the most reputable reporters around until she started reporting on Pizzagate. Now, the mainstream media, which I have uncovered, has a direct connection to the Central Intelligence Agency. So the biggest Hollywood studios and the biggest TV station, the biggest music makers, they're all connected directly to the CIA through the Office of Hollywood Entertainment Engagement. So there is an office in the CIA that directly corresponds with the major studios in Hollywood to create propaganda through movies, music, and television to program our brains. This is a fact. This is not me, but check out Out of Shadows, okay? So when the words Pizzagate first came out, the mainstream media wiped this off the table as, come on already, is Hillary Clinton really trafficking children in the basement of a pizzeria in Washington, D.C., Comet Pizza and Ping Pong? It's so crazy, there's not even a basement in the building. That's how they chose to manipulate the narrative into saying, come on, they're not running a child ring out of a pizzeria. I have been doing some deep dive on this stuff. If you go to the FBI website itself, when the FBI runs online operations to catch pedophiles and people who are perpetrating child porn, they have learned a code that they use. And pizza is girl, okay? And hot dog is boy. And, you know, there's other terms that are even more disgusting. You can't believe it. But anyhow, I'm looking further and further at this, and it's sure starting to look like the global elite class has some sort of occult where, I don't know if it's Satan worship, but there is a lot of evidence of that. And there's a whole, group of people out there who believe there should be two classes in the world, the elites and the rest of us. There's a group of people out there that there is a growing concern that they are engaged in extracting bodily fluids and bodily parts from young kids to make themselves feel better, stay younger, and they're taking adrenochrome from the adrenal gland in people, and they have to heighten the fear to get the most potent adrenochrome out of them, and then they inject it into other people who are rich and famous and all this. This is all out there, and this is like Fact. It's like backed up by backed up by backed up, okay? I want to get just a little crazier for you today. So, as we all know, this guy, Jeffrey Epstein, seems to have been one of the kingpins of luring in rich, famous, influential people to this crazy cult. And he was actually convicted of, child rape and other sex crimes. He had to enlist as a sexual predator. Now, let me ask you this. I don't care how much money the guy has, okay? If you know this guy has been arrested and pled guilty to child sex, okay, would you go on his plane? I wouldn't, because I wouldn't want people to say, why is JT hanging out with this wacko, okay? Then on top of it, and this isn't like conspiracy theory, he pled guilty to soliciting a child for sex, okay? He pled guilty. He was registered as a sex offender. He got some sweet deal, because there's a lot of anecdotal evidence out there that Jeffrey Epstein was actually an asset for foreign intelligence, like AKA Mossad. And his sidekick, Ghislaine Maxwell, who's supposedly been flagged as the madam who recruited all these young kids into this crazy wacko's lifestyle. And they brought all these kids to the island, and they flew everybody to the island. If you look at the manifest, you go nuts. But, okay. Lo and behold, a few years ago, Joe Biden said he was the poorest senator in the U.S. Senate, okay? When he left office as vice president, his stated net worth was between $400,000 and $1 million. Today, as he runs for president, 5 years later, he's worth upwards of $10 million. Now, how do you go from $400,000 to $10 million in just a few years? Well, you got a brother who's a lobbyist, who puts together all kinds of deals, and he gets paid off. And lo and behold, he buys an island. Okay, so Joe Biden's brother, and I got the citation here, the story is just a factual. In 2005, Joe Biden's brother bought an acre of land with ocean views on a remote island in the Caribbean for $150,000. Okay, and then later, a Washington lobbyist bought one of the 3 plots from James Biden, Joe's brother, for $150,000. So what does that tell you? Well, there was 2 lots left, and they got them for free because the lobbyists bought one for $150,000, what they paid for all 3. I do a little more digging, and what do I find out? The island where Joe Biden's brother James bought was an island called Water Island. Water Island. It's in the Virgin Islands, okay? And a little further research tells me that, guess what? Lo and behold, Water Island is just a stone's throw away from Epstein Island, 8 miles to be exact, okay? And if you want to get really freaky, guess what Water Island used to be way back when in the Second World War? It was a U.S. submarine base. So they had a whole submarine base, and they keep submarines there, and Joe Biden and his brother own this property that just happens to be right on top of the submarine base. So could it be, this is where we go deep, okay, could it be that Joe Biden never flew to Epstein Island? Another thing, strange, right? Could it be that Joe was flying over to Water Island and then go down the stairs to the bottom there, and then they send over Ghislaine Maxwell with the Epstein submarine to pick him up and then take him back over to the island, loaded up with kids in terror and fear? I don't know. But here's a little something about Ghislaine Maxwell from a few years ago when she gave a great speech. Watch what they introduce her as.
Stage here we have Ghislaine Maxwell, founder and president of the Terra Mara Project, a nonprofit whose mission is to create a global ocean community to protect and promote sustainable development of the ocean. Ghislaine is easily one of the smartest, most fascinating people I've ever met. This is proven by the fact that she holds a bachelor's and master's degree from Oxford University, is a private helicopter pilot, a trained EMT, a qualified ROV, which I had to look up what that was, and a deep worker submarine pilot.
Oh. I don't know if we caught that at the end, but let's run it again for Facebook right now. Run that again right now, Nico, and I'm going to pick it up in number 5.
Stage here we have Glenn Maxwell, founder and president of the Terramar Project, a nonprofit whose mission is to create a global ocean community to protect and promote sustainable development of the ocean. Glenn is easily one of the smartest, most fascinating people I've ever met. This is proven by the fact that she holds a bachelor's and master's degree from Oxford University, is a private helicopter pilot, a trained EMT, a qualified ROV, which I had to look up what that was, and a deep worker submarine pilot.
All right, so Joe Biden, through his brother James, owns an island 8.3 miles from Epstein Island, where all of the global elites were hanging out, okay? Now, Mark Zuckerberg has a Facebook post out there which has been cleansed from his own Facebook feed, where he checked in at the location, Little St. James Island, which is Epstein Island. And in the photo where he has a look on his face like he's aghast at seeing something that he's just not happy about looking at, he's talking about how sexual congress is enjoyable to watch. And it's still difficult for him to watch the adrenochrome be extracted from the smaller ones. Sounds like a reference to a kid. If you do a little homework out there, to everybody watching on Facebook, if you do a little homework, you'll find out that this adrenochrome thing is real. And the adrenal fluids that they pull out of young kids, they're more potent when they're younger. And they have their highest degrees of concentration and potency when you are in fear, when you are in terror. And your adrenal gland pumps more adrenaline, like when you're trying to get pumped up for a game or a competition, and you hear the sounds going on and everybody's chanting, and you start playing the music, you know, pump it up, you got to pump it up. Everybody starts going crazy. Your adrenal gland is pumping, okay? Now, if you see one of your family members on fire right there, then your adrenaline goes like through the roof. Or if you're pouring scalding hot water on a 3-year-old, they're screaming for fear of their life because if they're being held down or restrained, they don't have their transitory flight mechanism because they can't run or hide. So then the adrenaline just keeps pumping to the point where you're almost dead. And they actually extract these body fluids at your most terrified moments because it's the most potent. They want that adrenaline. I don't know if you ever look, but you look at like famous celebrities and famous presidents like Bob Hope and, you know, George Bush Sr. and all these other people. They all live to like 90 something. Okay, and people in Hollywood, you know, Kirk Douglas, they all live to 90, 95. They still look good. I wonder if they have some secret that we don't know about. Now, Oprah and others have been outed on social media that they're using this special organic cream to make their skin better. And it turns out that the cream that they're using is actually made from the cells in human foreskins. So I don't know, do they go like to the hospital and buy the foreskins after the circumcisions, or do they perform the circumcisions with no anesthesia so that the kid is in actual terror and then grind it up into masks that they put on their face because that skin is supposed to have the most youthful content in it? I don't know. I don't know. Mike Doherty is shaking his head as he comes into the waiting room there. Mike. I don't know, Mike. I'm doing all.
I have sold cadaver tissue, so I know about cadaver tissue.
All right, welcome back. You're watching Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. I'm John Tobacco, and on Money Mondays, we try to bring on talk about your portfolio, talk about what's happening in the world, of course, look at alternative investments, but we also bring on the money guests that get your week started the right way, and we try to hit a lot of topics all in the same day. So This guy's joined us before. He's a fantastic guest. I was just amusing him with some of my conspiracy theories in the waiting room. But Mike Doherty is the president of LabMD, an Atlanta-based clinical and anatomic medical laboratory, and the CEO of Any Lab Test Now in Virginia. Sounds like you're in the right business right now, my man, because I was watching the president yesterday on with Chris Wallace, and I thought the president gave him a pretty good beatdown. But he's talking about we're doing the most testing in the world. So, are you guys involved in any of that federal funded testing or anything like that, or?
We do antibody testing, and we interact with patients. We don't let anyone with symptoms in right now. I actually have an RV that has been licensed by the state of Virginia that I'm bringing up. It's in the shop, but as soon as that happens, I'll get others. But I will tell you that I've never seen, and I've been in medicine since 1984, and I have never seen this basically of sending the entire public to medical school. And that's what's going on here, because it's such a rush. It's like everyone's been diagnosed with the same disease, basically. Everyone's acting like it. And so you have all the, instead of going to some sort of medical journal, everyone's going to television, and politicians are practicing medicine. And so then you have know-nothing, anchors that are spinning, and you basically have an unbelievable. Instead of anyone moving toward scientific fact, you've got a bunch of campaign managers disguised as TV correspondents trying to play gotcha, and it's terrifying. It's a huge disservice to the public, and we get tons of calls of people that are just flat out confused. And so, what does one test do? Are the antibody tests good? I mean, just people don't know what to do. How contagious is it? This whole thing on hydroxychloroquine drove me crazy, because I'm like, look, number one, it works. But the bigger issue is there's nothing to lose if it doesn't. When everyone was in a panic in March and April, it works. I mean, and Henry Ford just came out with a study. What bothered me wasn't so much that potentially it didn't work, but I knew the people that were bad-mouthing it were bad-mouthing it for political reasons, and that's outrageous. And we as a public have got to have a memory on this stuff. They don't care about lying, because they know we don't. We have the attention span of a tweet, and people are using this whole disease for their political advantage. And
hang on, I want to stop you there, because I tend to play a medical doctor on TV from time to time, and I make like I know what I'm talking about because I read a bunch of articles. But the one thing that was hidden, little nugget that was hidden in there, is you said it works, but even if it doesn't, it can't kill you, right? And I have a couple of friends who are pharmacists and said, hey man, I got a load of this stuff in my compounding facility. All my lupus patients get it and everything else. And my buddy said, you should take some of this crap and take it with some quinine water and some zinc, and you should be okay, which I did for a while. I still have about a case of tonic water laying around my house. But in your medical expertise, there is some prophylactic value to hydroxychloroquine.
Well, yeah, and here's why. Number one, it's cheap. Number two, it's plentiful. Number three, it's been around forever. See, this around forever is a big deal. That's why we're not going to have a vaccine immediately. We have this entire culture of people that are expecting everything to be immediate, and they've never really been sick before. So it's a perfect storm of these spoiled brats going, why aren't I fixed now? And if their great grandparents were alive, they'd smack them, because this is nothing compared to tuberculosis, polio, and everything else. And, and then guess what? And then you've got the media, which are campaign managers against Trump, fanning the flames of fear and anxiety. No matter what happens, everything is used for the wrong reason, to destroy Trump. And the fact that they'll use this as a tool to destroy Trump instead of save people's lives is outrageous. And if you vote for Biden, that's what you're voting for. That entire network, that whole regime, and its tentacles that go through academia and Hollywood and the media and politics, and not just Democrats, basically.
Yeah,
all
and by the way, Mike, I echo all of your sentiments completely, but you know, if you don't vote for Joe Biden, you ain't black. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's like they're almost at the same time where I saw Trump say, what I should have done was come out and said, never use hydroxychloroquine. It's terrible. It might kill you. And he said, if I said that, then they would have said the opposite. Why wouldn't he let everyone have it? It's almost like he has to do reverse psychology on them.
And it's sick, and hopefully the public is observing this and they read the Henry Ford's, like, you know, the entire world's looking at like, oh, what does who say, or what does whatever the Center for Disease Control says, and here comes Henry Ford, which in the medical world is a very, very well respected place, and they're like, hey, it works. Here's our clinical data, you know, and here's the thing: what do they do when they're wrong? They shut up. Do they change? No. They just move on to the next thing. It's all a machine of projection and lying to win political power. And what you're witnessing is nothing is outside of their grasp for this. They'll exploit your whatever for your health, they'll exploit it. For your race issues, they'll exploit it. For your sexual stuff, they'll exploit it. For your abortion stuff, they'll exploit it. It doesn't matter to them. It's all.
Let me ask something. In your opinion, you know, I've known the name Fauci for years. You know what I'm saying? I'm you know, half Italian, half Irish guy. So, you know, I'm proud of anybody with a vowel at the end of their name that gets to a position of greatness, like Mike Pompeo, Anthony Fauci, right? So, you know, I was just immediately was like, all right, we got an Italian guy in there. That feels good. And then I started to watch him more and see the mistakes that were being made. And I know he's one of the most respected guys around, but it sure seems like he is way more political than anyone has ever known about him.
Because he's been in the government for decades. And also no science guy is going to be the master of getting on national television that much. And all you got to do is take what he said for over the months and watch it change. That makes sense, because here's the big thing. There never, ever has been, and there never will be an absolute in medicine, period. And so anyone that gives an absolute is irresponsible and a fraud.
Charlatan.
Now,
they used to call him snake oil salesman. There's no absolutes in life. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, they have very few taxes and death, you know?
You don't have much life experience. You think, oh, okay. And if you buy into that triangle of victim, villain, savior, you know, and you've got no experience, you believe that guy's a boogeyman. It doesn't, you know, light bulb doesn't go off your head till your mid-30s. You know, it's scary. So what bothered me about Fauci immediately was hydroxychloroquine. Immediately. I mean, that is when I went, okay, I don't like this guy.
The thing that when I did some homework and I saw how widely used hydroxychloroquine was, I arrived at the same kind of conclusion as you, without the medical expertise you have, that, well, the one thing these trials need to establish is what else is this going to do to the person? Is it going to kill him? Is it going to, right? You know, hydroxychloroquine was so widely used and so cheap that it wasn't killing people for years, so it can't hurt. We got like a minute left. This Moderna vaccine induced adverse reactions in more than half the participants. What does that mean?
Okay, look, that means that we should have a bunch of vaccinations going at the same time, testing them, because no matter where we get with all of them, the skids are going to hit once we start testing it on humans. And chimpanzees with COVID-19 don't get as sick, don't react the same. Okay, you have to understand that one severe reaction out of 1,000 people would mean 300,000 severe reactions if we vaccinated the country. That's insane. That's more severe reactions than we have deaths. So I'm trying to go, A, vaccine's not a cure. B, it's just another one of the defenses, but medication's going to be, it's just like AIDS. Is there an AIDS vaccine? No. Is it a big death threat now? No. Why? A drug, battle, a drug, series of medications that work on some people don't know. That's what's going to do this. And we're already starting to slow it down. You know, they're screaming, So many tests, so many diseases. Look at the deaths that are happening that are not happening.
I call it the survival rate is 99.94, so it's pretty good. But
we pulled back the grade.
yep.
Okay.
Yep. All right, we got to leave it there, Mike. Thanks so much. You got to join us again. This guy tells it like it is. He's one of our money guests, Michael Doherty. Thank you so much. And he's the president of LabMD and the CEO of Any Lab Test Now. So if you need any lab tests, go to this guy. At least he supports our president. We'll take a quick break, come back with some more news of the day right after this, and pizza and submarines and all that good stuff.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Danino's, the arugula pie, white arugula pie with fresh grated Parmesan. This is the margarita pie, it's beauty. This is the clam pie. Danino's is famous for the clam pie, delicious.
For more Liquid Lunch, head over to YouTube, do a search for Liquid Lunch TV, and hit that subscribe button.
All right, welcome back. Just breezing through this first hour here and trying to hit a whole bunch of different topics. One of the things that all eyes are on is Jeffrey Epstein's sidekick. Some say they were allegedly married. Others say she was allegedly the recruiter for the sex trafficking ring that they were on. I don't know. All I know is Jeffrey Epstein did not commit suicide. That's for sure. And Ghislaine Maxwell has now pled not guilty, but her bail terms were rejected by the judge, and now she's in federal custody. And I would imagine that, you know, she has a significant amount of global intelligence contacts. So she's probably like a real hot potato. She's probably helped countries, hurt countries, and everybody probably wants a crack at Ghislaine. She's probably got the whole dossier of videos and everything else, and she's got people sending feelers out there to Prince Andrew and everyone else saying, you better stick up for me, you better get me out of here. And I really think anyone that gets around Jeffrey Epstein and the Clinton cartel, and now you see this bigger group of Hollywood and global elites that are participants in, you know, at least flying on Jeffrey Epstein's plane to Jeffrey Epstein's island, which is whacked out in itself. And now Jenna Jameson came out yesterday and said that she has, you know, empirical, indisputable evidence of you know, a pedophilia ring going throughout Hollywood and other places. Lots of scary stuff, but it sure seems like anybody that gets too close to this whole Epstein situation winds up dead. Okay, and this time they missed, but it's still a horrible, horrible thing. So, you know, a lot of people are getting a lot of packages dropped off on their doorstep these days. I know around here, the UPS and the FedEx guy, they give like a 2-knocker, and if you don't come out, they just leave the package there and drive away. A New Jersey judge yesterday, Judge Esther Salas, the first, one of the first Latin American women appointed to the federal bench. Her highest profile case that she's had in recent years was a financial fraud case against the Real Housewives of New Jersey stars, Teresa and Joe Giudice. And she was actually nice enough in that thing to stagger their sentences so they weren't both in jail at the same time. She did deport Joe, who was my favorite character on the show, to be honest with you. So Joe's shipped off to Italy, so it's doubtful that any of the housewives. Teresa actually came out with a statement yesterday saying, you know, that she's praying heavily for the judge. Judge Salas was the judge on a case that was investigating Deutsche Bank. And Deutsche Bank was the bank of choice for Jeffrey Epstein. And this lawsuit against Deutsche Bank was trying to expose the fact that they lied in their anti-money laundering statements because, they ask you questions. Have you been indicted, arrested? Have you been the subject of a federal investigation? This, that, and the other thing. And all these things come up on checks where the bank has to know their customer. So the lawsuit is alleging that Epstein was a pedophile, he was a convicted sex offender, and Deutsche Bank was hiding those facts from their KYC process because they wanted to keep taking money in from him, okay? And this lawsuit seeks to unearth a lot of information provided between Jeffrey Epstein and Deutsche Bank. Yesterday, unfortunately, and God bless them, a man dressed as a FedEx person knocked on a door in North Brunswick, New Jersey. The door he knocked on was the home of one Judge Esther Salas. And when her son opened the door, and this is reported from the Associated Press, one of the top organizations in the world, her 20-year-old son was shot at 5 p.m. So FedEx guy or alleged FedEx guy knocks on the door, 20-year-old son of the judge opens the door, boom, he gets killed. The husband is standing a little back behind him. He gets shot also, did not get killed. I want to point out that FedEx has said that they're completely cooperating. It wasn't a FedEx man. They're fully cooperating with this, okay? Teresa was shaken by this news and very emotional when she heard about it. So it seems like in 2017, this judge barred federal prosecutors from seeking death penalty against an alleged gang leader, a Crips gang leader, because she said he was mentally unstable. So it's not like she was like hard on the gangs or, it's kind of strange that the judge on a case that's suing Deutsche Bank over their dealings with Jeffrey Epstein has her son shot and killed and her husband shot and pretty seriously wounded. So, maybe they were hoping the judge opened the door. Maybe in the alternative, these deep state folks who want to, slow down people with too much information on them, maybe killing her son and shooting her husband is enough of a message to lay off, make some rulings in our favor and get away. But at the end of the day, judges in our country, in our system of justice, are the most paramount thing we have. And if it just becomes okay in this crazy time that lone gunmen can show up at judges' houses and blow away parts of their family, it's going to be another corrosion on our society because judges are supposed to be protected. And if judges start getting killed and cops are getting smashed off the head with bricks, and if you get locked up for a crime, you can get out without any money, putting up any money on bail, so you can just create another crime and go in and then they let you out. It's like a revolving door. Cops are under attack. Judges are under attack. And basically, the pillars of our society that we grew up with, and, let's keep in mind, the country was based on this thing, in God we trust. That's like on our money. You know what I'm saying? We were founded as a Judeo-Christian country. And these people seem to be headed in the direction of Marxism. And I think at the top of that argument, Marxists don't want individuality. So they want to destroy all kinds of individual classifications like religion, which gives you, gives you an honor to a greater being, and they want everyone to honor the state. So I'm gonna keep talking about this stuff as much as I can. We're gonna take a quick break right here, flip it around, kick off hour 2 right after this.
Welcome back, folks.
I've been taking my makeup off every day with the coronavirus wipes. I'm still corona free.
Didn't even might be fake tan on.
Well, that's because that's not a fake tan. That's a real tan.
All right, just kicking off hour 2 here of Money Monday edition of Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. I'm John Tobacco. We're coming to you live as we do every single day from the Corona Bunker Studios in my living room. You can see just outside there is a beautiful pool awaiting my arrival as soon as 2 o'clock hits. But we're going to take you through this hour and break down a whole bunch more stuff. Now, as we come into this hour here, the Dow is at 26.6, so it's just middling around on a Money Monday. Nothing crazy there. Bitcoin at 91.6, so $9,160, and still staying above that 9,000, which is good news. I thought there was some really good news 2 or 3 years ago, and for those of you who don't know, I was one of the early adopters of the whole Bitcoin economy. I joined Overstock.com, who I had worked with since 2005, in a new capacity as part of the founding team to look at and examine the uses of cryptocurrency. Dr. Patrick Byrne, the CEO of the company, is one of my mentors in life. He's one of my great friends. And he said, John, I think this digital currency stuff is going to get really real. This is back down in 2014. And he said, you know, I'd like Overstock to be the first company in America to accept Bitcoin. And he asked me to come on and put together a team of Wall Street people and real top-notch technologists and merge the blockchain and cryptocurrency with traditional capital markets philosophies. I was part of that Medici team. I went on to become the vice president of T0. I'm still a large shareholder in T0, which is Overstock's Bitcoin cryptocurrency trading division. And I saw a trend going on at all the conferences that this new emerging asset class, I was seeing more and more women in executive positions, the CEO, the president, the founder. And it seemed like the new currency, the Bitcoin, had created a real level playing field, because it wasn't like guys have had 50 years more experience at this stuff. It was all brand new. And the women were becoming adopters, and I saw it faster, but a great article in Cointelegraph about women in crypto. We have that number of women in crypto and blockchain is skyrocketing in 2020. And there was a recent study out there, I think from Fidelity, that in over 65% of the households in America, the women make the final decisions on financial things like investments and big purchases. And so women tend to have a little more of a organized control. Men tend to be, take more risk and maybe not be as organized as women. So it makes sense that women control the purse strings because they do all the shopping usually. But no, I saw with my own 2 eyes, wow, there's a lot of opportunity. And, I was thinking, is it equal opportunity? It almost looks like there's more women in executive places. And that is panning out. And great article in Cointelegraph. We're going to try to get the writer of that article on here and talk to all the reasons why there have been more opportunities for women. But it seems like at a time when there's so much unrest and division in our country, in this new emerging asset class space, one of the great collateral effects is there's absolutely more opportunity for women in the highest levels of the C-suite. So I thought I'd point that out. You might want to do a little homework on it. We have more women than men in our audience, which I could appreciate, which tells me, we have a pretty smart audience, a very smart audience, but lots more to talk about. Fernando Uribe is going to join us in just a few minutes. We're going to take a quick break right here, and we'll come back with more Liquid Lunch right after this. All right, welcome back. Quick check-in on the markets. Dow just kind of middling around, same as when we started the hour, down 50. Bitcoin down 20, so they're kind of like even Steven here, not a lot going on. Do want to check in on a couple of single stocks that I've been talking about for quite some time. Nike, as I mentioned to you, I think it's going to continue to dive. I think it's a great short. And when I spoke about Nike a couple of weeks back, it was $99. And I said, I think moms who control the pocketbook and the spending when back to school season comes They're going to look at those Nikes, they're going to look at those Under Armours and those Adidas, and they're going to say, I'm not with Nike anymore. I'm getting Under Armour for my son or daughter. I'm getting Adidas. And I think that's going to have a significant effect on Nike's market cap and their price. Nike down 3 points over the last 2 weeks since we started talking about it. And another one that I mentioned in the last segment, Overstock.com, I worked the company in different capacities for almost 15 years. The stock was $4 a few months ago. Today, checking in, kicking it real at $52, and really benefiting from a new marketing campaign. They got some younger people there. They're running some cooler commercials, and the Corona has had a tremendously positive effect on them. And you know, you got a stock like Wayfair that sells $15,000 cabinets. That allegedly come back to SKU numbers on other sites that have kids' names on. I don't even know, but I'd keep my eye on Overstock if I were you, because it's a nice looking stock. Keep your eyes on the prize right now when we bring in our regular Money Monday guest. Fernando Uribe is with us. Fernando is the host of Politically Direct on Insider NJ, also a faculty member at Bergen Community College. And here today to talk to us, firstly, about my favorite sport up until now. Most popular sport in the U.S., Fernando, is football. And this whole racial injustice stuff, no fans. This could be a serious moment for the NFL. What do you think?
Absolutely, John. And as we're trying to get back to some sense of normalcy this week with Major League Baseball returning, thank goodness, certainly the NBA the week after. But this fall, as you said, it's the most popular sport in the United States, and that's the NFL. And right now, I think that the hierarchy, starting with Commissioner Roger Goodell, and even the owners, all 32 owners collectively, have a little bit of an impasse here when it comes to the political and social climate. They certainly want to acquiesce to their players and be sensitive to the needs of the Black community, which comprises a large portion of their rosters. But by the same token, it's all about, the marketplace. It's all about consumers. And we saw in 2016 with the entire Colin Kaepernick situation that many fans started getting a little salty on the NFL. And I think right now what you're seeing with the NFL coming up now in September with no fans in the stands, I think it's collectively been agreed upon by the entire league. You're going to see revenues go down. You'll see the salary cap go down. And as a result, you might see player salaries go down. And subsequently, that's going to hurt everybody in the sport, but more so whether or not some players are going to take it to the extent of putting BLM movement logos on their jerseys or anything, whether it's on their person at all. I think this is something that could be really problematic for the NFL because some people just want to see sports. They don't want to see politics in their sports. And I think it's something that could really turn off a lot of people along very different demographics, John.
Fernando, I'm totally with you. I mean, I'm absolutely disgusted by the actions of the NFL and the NBA. I mean, I want to throw up. I was never a big basketball fan. I didn't even want my son to play basketball because I know he was not going to be 7 feet tall, so I wanted to focus on other sports. But I can't even watch NBA. Nonetheless, they're going to start putting, symbols on people's jerseys and political, social injustice. It's like, for me, it's like way too much. I'd rather not watch it at all and not care about it. But before we go to our next topic, I got to bring this to your attention. Breaking news somebody sent to me, North Brunswick, New Jersey. North Brunswick, New Jersey shooting. Suspected gunman allegedly found dead. I talked about earlier in the show this judge who was overseeing the Epstein Deutsche Bank case. Her son and husband were shot in her doorway by a guy dressed in a FedEx uniform. And wouldn't you believe it, the alleged shooter has been found dead, according to Eyewitness News. And the suspect allegedly, much like Jeffrey Epstein, the suspect now died by suicide.
Well, John, yes. Listen, last night I heard the same story, and it really, I think, it reverberated throughout the entire news cycle because it reminds us about a lot of the shady characters in this sort of drama involving Jeffrey Epstein and his ex-girlfriend, who is now in custody. And again, my prayers go out to the judge's family. I know that her husband is in critical condition. The passing of her son is tragic. But, when you think about how deep this Epstein case goes, again, you have to worry about everyone that's involved, whether it's people that work in corrections, or in the judiciary. Like really, no one's under any sort of safety protocols, and it's a concern.
Yeah, I mean, I was just, saying it earlier, but we got, the cops are under attack in all blue cities across the country. You could beat up cops, you could hit them with bricks, you could smash them with baseball hats, and nobody's being brought to justice on this stuff. In New York and other sanctuary cities, there's cashless bail now, so even if you do get brought in for something, you walk in, they hand you a piece of paper, and they let you go. If it devolves to the point where these criminals are going to the homes of judges, our whole system could collapse.
Absolutely. And John, it's a reminder that at the national level, you have a guy running for president who is the nominee of the Democratic Party, who has yet to denounce any of the irresponsible behavior by governors and by mayors in these blue states and cities. And, speaking of breaking news, I just saw a poll today in the Wall Street Journal that Joe Biden is polling at an abysmal 22% with young voters. Of course he is. He's not inspiring. He's not taking any leadership. And listen, I get it. People want to go after the president's leadership. I get all that. But right now, it seems like everyone's looking at Joe Biden as a savior. And John, he just isn't. I mean, you look at his past record as a U.S. senator, you look at him as a vice president, it's not very inspiring. And now we're supposed to believe, after 50 years in government and public service, that now Joe Biden's going to suddenly fix all of the country's problems. It's lunacy. And for people that are liberals or progressives or even, staunch Democrats, to think that someone like Joe Biden, who should be denouncing these practices, Joe Biden should be on a podium right now denouncing blue states and blue cities because of how irresponsible they're being, the way they're treating police officers, the way they're letting just recklessness run rampant in their cities and states. I think it's an abomination, and it's a reminder why 4 years, 4 months, or 4 minutes is something we cannot live with concerning Joe Biden in this country, John.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you, brother. And lost in the shuffle with all everyday coronavirus, attacking the president, all this other stuff. Joe Biden came out with this whole manifesto of platform of all the things he's going to go for, right? And I'm doing some math on that because I want to try to break it down to the actual monetary toll on each American. I'm not there yet, but he's talking about, again, raising the capital gains tax back to 35%. Right now we're at 21%. So that's nearly a 50% increase. He also wants to increase the death tax, which you work your whole life to create an estate to leave to your family and a legacy for everyone else. And now they want to take 40% of that money, which you've already been taxed on over the course of your life. I don't think people are actually looking. I saw a poll, I don't remember the numbers the other day, where they were saying that most of the people who are voting for Joe Biden are not excited to vote for Joe Biden. I think 56% of the people who said they're voting for Joe Biden said they're voting against Donald Trump, not for Joe Biden, which is like a strange reason to vote for someone. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, John. And again, it's a reminder for all of us that the Democratic Party, and more specifically the very liberal and progressive base, just seems to be intellectually bankrupt when it comes to discussing these issues. When it comes to math, I've never met a Democrat that's never fell in love with a tax that's come across his or her desk. You see liberals and progressives pushing these identity politics type of narrative, or social engineering, or the idea that for some reason they failed high school biology and they don't realize that there's only two genders, or the idea they have to stuff political correctness down our throats. It's something that is really alarming, John. And when you think about the election less than 100 days away, I'm hoping the president and his team, his new team, can get it together when it comes to a message and it comes to a platform, because we're seeing the economy pick up a little bit, and that's going to help him.
Yep.
But more importantly, it's about the president calling out Joe Biden and how, let's be honest, how inept he's been in public service for 50 years.
Yeah, I don't understand why people think all of a sudden he's going to be the guy who fixes everything when he's been in business for 45 years. We got to leave it there, man. Thank you so much. I think this all started years ago when sanctuary city mayors started saying it's okay to not put a sex on your kid's birth certificate. And I think that's part of what's growing on us now. And it sounds pretty simple. You pull down the diaper, you look what's there. It's either a boy or a girl, and then the kid can figure out. The kid can figure out what they are as they grow into life. And but it's getting crazy about a minute. Thanks for being there like a rock for us every Monday, brother, and feel better.
Thanks, John.
That's Fernando Uribe. He's a faculty member at Bergen Community College and the host of Politically Direct on Insider NJ. Quick break, more news of the day, and a liquid lunch for you right after this. All right, welcome back. I'm just, wow. Just looking at this story. Apparently the shooter of the Epstein judge's son and husband has been identified, and he's dead. So, I don't know. That's got to probably make Ghislaine Maxwell feel just a little more scared as she sits in solitary confinement. And word that I'm hearing is that they're moving her from cell to cell to cell all around the different penitentiary or the different detention center to keep her safe. I don't know how long that's going to happen, but, you know, when they're getting so brazen now that they're going to judges' houses, this thing, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going too deep or if I'm not going deep enough, but it's getting really weird out there, okay? I played this a little earlier, and I want to just do it again because I see some folks are on now who weren't on earlier, and I see other people are saying that, you know, go back and watch the first part of the show. In case you missed it, I got cut off, okay? Nico, do we have the headline about Joe Biden's brother? Let me see that headline about the... So, you know, I've been talking about the Epstein Island and how, you know, they have a temple there and all these people flew on his plane. They were in the flight logs that went there and everything else. But one person who wasn't on the island, or at least on the flight logs, was Joe Biden. Now it turns out that, lo and behold, a small little island right across the street from Epstein Island is called Water Island. And Joe Biden's brother, James Biden, purchased a large tract of land on Water Island back in 2005, 2006 for 150 lodge, okay? And then some lobbyist who used to work for Joe Biden, who now become a lobbyist for banks and other stuff, purchased one of the 3 lots for $150,000. So he basically paid off the whole purchase price and leaves 2 lots. And it just, to me, sounds nice. Like, hey, if my brother Todd bought 3 tracts of land for 150 grand, and then he sold one of them for 150 grand, he'd probably say, hey, Jay, guess what? We just got 2 free lots on our own tropical island. And by the way, you're never going to believe it. There's a really cool thing here. We're right next door to Jeffrey Epstein. And this island that we're on, you're not going to believe it. It was a submarine base for the U.S. military. So there's an actual whole submarine thing downstairs. So now, think about this. When they're talking about, you know, torturing kids, and Jeffrey Epstein is known, he was a registered pedophile. He was registered for the rest of his life as a sex offender, wherever he is now. It seems that this 8.3-mile traverse from Water Island, where Joe and James Biden have some properties, over to Epstein Island, where many have alleged a bunch of pedophiles go there and sacrifice kids and extract adrenaline from their adrenal gland. They're only 8 miles apart. And if you wanted to transport some kids and never get caught, like, you know, Escobar and all the big drug lords, they actually bought submarines to evade, you know, naval law enforcement. I'm thinking, well, that sounds a little crazy. Why would they buy an island that has a submarine base on it? And isn't it coincidental that it's right next door to Epstein Island? And why would Joe Biden's brother buy an island next to Epstein Island? It doesn't make a lot of sense. But if you want to get super crazy, I'm not saying it, but this Ghislaine Maxwell had a lot of skills, and you're not going to believe what one of them is. Take a look at this. She has was a great hopscotch player. Nico doesn't have the clip ready because I sneak attacked him.
Stage here we have Glenn Maxwell, founder and president of the Terramar Project, a nonprofit whose mission is to create a global ocean community to protect and promote sustainable development of the ocean. Glenn is easily one of the smartest, most fascinating people I've ever met. This is proven by the fact that she holds a bachelor's and master's degree from Oxford University, is a private helicopter pilot, a trained EMT, a qualified ROV, which I had to look up what that was, and a deep worker submarine pilot.
She's a helicopter pilot. She's an EMT, and she's a deep worker submarine pilot. So I don't know. In my mind, I could see a video, like maybe a little animated cartoon video of like Ghislaine Maxwell driving the submarine with, you know, Tom Hanks and Kevin Spacey and all of these other people who've allegedly been to Epstein Island, hanging out the back of the submarine and, you know, doing a little tour, you know, from Little St. James, Epstein Island over to Water Island and pulling in to Joe and James Biden's submarine base, maybe picking up some terrified and petrified kids. Who the heck knows? I don't know. Here's to you. Stay tuned. We'll be back right after this. All right, welcome back. You know, I just love doing this show every day. I don't know why. Maybe because people send me free liquor. Maybe because my team is getting better by the minute. But my audience, especially on Facebook, where I get a lot more feedback, is like in my view, part of the show. Okay, Carla Marino reporting breaking news that we reported over an hour ago that the gunman who shot the judge's son and husband has committed suicide. The Judge Salas in New Jersey, who was overseeing the Jeffrey Epstein Deutsche Bank case, her son and her husband have been shot, and the poor sucker they talked into doing it is dead also, apparent suicide, but we know how this goes. To put this in the Jeffrey Epstein file, you know. All right, you guys, as you know, in the WTF, the last segment of the day, What's the Facts? Nico and Jess tend to correct any mistakes that I made today, and I think I had a pretty good day, to be honest with you.
You've made no glaring errors today. I'm really sad to report that, because I was looking forward to talking.
Nico, can you say that?
Never in a million thousand years.
Yeah, you notice how he made.
So
notice how you made Jess say
I
you
thought
made
of
no
one.
errors today. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's why I passed the mic. But the deal is this: you did correct your only error today, and now we also can't back up all of the facts that were spoken about in the Epstein conspiracies and everything else. But you know, they are solid debate talking points. But you did come out say you were on Newsmax this morning, when in fact we are on Biz TV, and there is literally a logo right here next to your name.
Okay, listen. For, you know, over a year, 5 days a week, every single day of the month, okay, I said every single segment, you're watching Liquid Lunch on Newsmax TV. I said it all the time, and I'm proud to say it. And, you know, I love being on Biz TV because on Biz TV, I'm allowed to talk about business, I'm allowed to talk about news, I'm allowed to talk about entertainment, I'm allowed to talk about whatever I want as long as I don't curse and do anything that's not family friendly, and I'll do that anyway. And no one calls me in the middle of the show and says, retract that statement. No one yells at me and says, well, you can't say Trump is wrong for screaming at the director of the Federal Reserve. I'm kind of happier being myself. Anyhow, the summer is a perfect time for me to make some serious considerations on how I want to be part of the public dialogue going forward. And, you know, I think Biz TV is part of it because it's a really rural American audience. And the people out there in rural America care about our president, care about our country. They don't want to tear down Columbus statues. They don't want to behead Jesus. They want to care about the things that we were supposed to care about, like faith, family, and everyone loves food. Those are my 3 F's, except when I'm talking about Bill de Blasio. Then I have another F, but the utilization of that word would cause me to no longer be on Biz TV, so I can only go with the 3 F's. But Bill de Blasio is still probably the worst mayor, maybe in the history of time. Nico, I don't know if you saw these 2 women. Carla texted me, these 2 ladies from New Jersey who splashed black paint all over the Black Lives Matter thing. Pastor Beatty, I think her name is.
I saw it. It was a pretty funny video.
We need to get them on because they're real Christian and Catholic, which is great. But to see African American people rejecting Black Lives Matter as a slogan, it gives you a good understanding of why that movement is not really representative of what's important to African American folks. And you know what? African American families care about the same thing every family cares about: safety and security. And I think Donald Trump, he did a great job in his last election of pointing out to the minority and the lower income communities that, hey, you've been voting for Democrats for the last 40 years, and you haven't done much better as a way of quality of life. Give me a chance. What do you have to lose? And he was really gaining with minorities, with Latinos. And I think the message for this president is they want to tear down our statues. They want to defund our police. They want to take away the safety and security of our civilization as you know it. And I'm going to be here, Donald J. Trump, to keep you and your family safe. And I don't care what color you are. I don't care what creed you are. I don't care where you live. Every parent in America that's not high on drugs and sane wants one thing. They want public safety, and they want to know their kids and their futures are safe. That's what you need to be thinking about when there's Bernie Sanders and AOC and all these people are talking about defund the police, and Black Lives Matter is talking about breaking up the nuclear family. I'm going to break up the rest of this bottle of Panzoni vodka, and I'm going to be here tomorrow to amaze and amuse and confuse you again some more. Tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel, more Liquid Lunch.
5, 4, 3, 2...